If you're looking for proven ways to take your fundraising results to the next level, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Intentional Fundraiser podcast, hosted by Tammy Zonker. Tammy has trained and led thousands of nonprofit organizations to collectively raise more than $500 million and is also recognized as one of America's top 20 fundraising experts. This is the podcast where Tammy equips and empowers amazing fundraising pros like you to transform your fundraising so you can transform the world. And now, let's hear from Tammy.
Today, we are talking with the one and only Floyd Jones. Floyd serves as Director of Community and Partnerships at Givebutter, the world's first completely free end-to-end fundraising platform, powering nearly $1 billion in donations per year for millions of changemakers. Floyd supports the community team's growth strategy via partnerships, sponsorships, strategic campaigns, and special events. And I must say, here at Fundraising Transformed, we are proud Givebutter partners. Throughout his career, Floyd has worked tirelessly on building social impact communities all around the world, collectively raising over $20 million for grassroots organizations and speaking at over 50 conferences across the U.S. His work and his content has been featured by ESPN, Afrotech, Variety, and Wired Magazine, and has been sponsored by Nike, Whole Foods, Visa, NBA 2K, and more. Floyd is also a pioneer for social justice. In 2023, he founded Back Black, a multi-platform initiative that has raised over $1.3 million for 770 Black-led nonprofits. Of all the things that I love about Floyd, the thing I love about him the most is his passion and his energy. Floyd, welcome to the show.
Tammy, I am so happy to be here. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for this community. Hello.
Hello. Let's just jump in. Floyd, you are a road warrior, right? Traveling from conference to conference, leading webinars and working with your partners across multiple time zones, really being a champion for fundraisers and nonprofit leaders everywhere. How do you do it, stay well, and maintain such a high level of energy? We want to know.
Tammy, I'm so happy you asked that question, because I'm not going to lie. Even this morning, before I got up, I was like, ooh, I'm feeling a little tired. But then as soon as you started talking, as soon as we hit record, you reminded me why I do what I do. It is not just for me. It's not just for the partner. It's not just for the platform. It's for the person on the other side. It's for the organizational leader who's getting tired, who is in need of transformation. It's for the person who wants to make an impact in their community. It's for the person who wants to move their movement and their mission forward. I believe that the only way that the world is going to change is if we start making changes within ourselves. That is the definition of a change maker. A change maker is not just someone who makes change outside. It's someone who's willing to make a change on the inside. And I am here to light that spark so that change can take place inside of you.
All right. I'm already tearing up. Thank you, Floyd. We need to hear that, because you're right. Our listeners are big-hearted, incredibly hardworking, mission-focused people, and we get tired.
We get tired.
So, back to why. Back to why.
I have a quick thing, Tammy, because I'm getting ready for another keynote in a week, actually. And I was looking at the stats of burnout in the nonprofit sector. There is a statistic that says almost 50%, it's about 45% of nonprofit employees are planning to leave the sector within the next 5 years. Almost half, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the impact that's going to have on your organization, but imagine what that impact is going to have for our entire sector, right? But then I started to realize that a lot of burnout is by design, right? Because we live in a system where nonprofit professionals and social impact organizations are forced to do more with less resources, right? We're forced to compete instead of collaborate. We're forced to protect our resources instead of partner with others, right? We are being literally siloed off and put into these siphons and these sections by design, right? And so I don't want you to burn out. I want you to burn down these systems that are keeping us down.
Mm,
Okay. That's what time it is. That is what we need to be start doing. That's where we need to go. That's what we have to do. Right. But the only way that we're going to do that is if we have compassion for ourselves. If we give ourselves space, if we give ourselves time to rest, if we give ourselves time to refuel, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. Right? You can't do it. People say that all the time. You can't pour from an empty cup. So fill up your cup. If that means listening to this podcast, it means taking a break. It means drinking a coffee. You and I were talking about our coffee this morning, okay? Do what you need to do to take care of you. So in that way, you can continue taking care of the community around you.
mm. If nothing else, if folks take away no other message, lesson, advice
Mm.
from this conversation, that's it. There's
Come
like
on.
7 hashtags and 10 t-shirts
Ah,
in
ah,
in that riff. Thank you,
mm-mm,
Floyd. So
mhm.
Floyd, how did you find your way into the nonprofit sector?
Great question. I feel like the nonprofit sector found me because I was reflecting. I was like going through some old pictures. So if you've ever been to a Floyd talk, you know that I love storytelling. I just believe that your life is a story, right? I believe that nothing is random. Okay. So
Yes.
many times we get down on ourselves and we're like, why am I going through this? And I'm like, no, 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 no. If you're going through something, I always say grow through what you go through. Grow through what you go through. You might not know the reason for it right now, but when you look back, hindsight is 2020. Okay. I'm standing in my miracle right now. I realize that everything that I manifested in my life right now, the stages that I get to be on, the place that I get to go, the people that I get to interact with, it's because I did the work decades ago, right? I was looking back, my first fundraising campaign, child, it's been a minute, but I was looking back even in high school, right? In high school, I was organizing events. I remember I created something called a Unity Day, right? For my entire high school. I brought the entire school together. If you don't know me, I'm a singer, I'm a performer as well. I got students together to perform original music. We did it for the entire school. In fact, the county sponsored our work because they were like, we need this. And we are bringing people together, right?
Mm.
I lived in a very rural community. So there was people were marginalized. I said, oh, we're going to bring this together. And I was like, man, I have been doing this work of community building before I even knew that community building was a thing, right? In college, my family's from Sierra Leone, West Africa. So I was very connected with the Gullah Geechee Nation. They're from Charleston, South Carolina down to Charleston, Florida. And the roots are from West African. So a lot of the slaves were brought in that area, right? And so I led 2 alternative spring breaks, 2 different years to that area. And I remember I raised $15,000, $20,000 when I was in college. I didn't even know what that was. I said, please give us $1. Like, please write home to your family. Like, I didn't know what fundraising was, but I knew I had a passion. Right. And that's something I want to tell people. You don't need all the tips. You don't need all the tricks. You just need passion. You need something inside of you telling you to keep going, right? And so that's what I realized that I had from back then. From there, when I graduated college, I fell in love with the organization in DC where I went to school. We provided arts and mental health work in high schools and middle schools across the DC area. And I was the first ever director of development. And I didn't even know what that was. But in 1 year, we doubled our operating budget, right? We raised over $150,000 to $200,000. And then I was like, I think I'm good at this. And so the rest
I
is kind of
guess.
mystery. All right.
Oh, that is an amazing story. It is who you are born to be, this community builder. Oh,
Mhm.
love it, love it. And now you are with Givebutter.
Yes.
Givebutter was a startup by 3 guys in a dorm room.
Mhm.
And as I shared in your intro, now is powering more than $1 billion in donations annually.
Isn't that fabulous?
It is fabulous. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, I mean, I actually went to school with the founders. We all went to GW. And so I had heard of Max. He was in the class below me, and I had known of him, but I didn't really fully know him. And then I actually still have the DM that I messaged him on LinkedIn because I pretty much just shot him a DM and I was like, I think I need to work for you. Like, I love what y'all are doing, and y'all pretty much need me. And the rest is kind of history. And honestly, Max, oh man, I have so much I could say about that man, but he is someone that I truly respect and truly admire because he is someone who he's a visionary. He has a vision and he implements it. And also another thing that I will say, because it's another quick sidebar, but you know I'm good for that. If you're looking for work, go to a place where the person can see and recognize your greatness and allow your greatness to flourish and fly. because that is what Max has done for me, right? And that is why I believe Givebutter is so successful today. Because when you can find greatness, he finds greatness in the organizations that we work with. He finds greatness in the partners that we partner with. He finds greatness in the people that we hire, right? And when you find that greatness and you allow that greatness to flourish, that is how you truly build a community. Think about that in your own context, right? Yes, we are a tech platform, but look in your own organization. Every organization that I work with, every single nonprofit that I have ever worked with, I was the only director of development. I was the first full-time hire, and every single organization that I work with had a budget under $100,000, right? They are all now multi-million-dollar nonprofit. Every single nonprofit that I work with. Why? Because I realize it's not about me, it is about we.
Mm.
If you're listening to this and you want to succeed, learn how to take yourself out the picture and say, how am I building something beyond myself? How am I building something beyond myself? Every single thing that I do, I go on, who we got? Who's on the roster? Who wants to come along for the journey? Even now, I'm building a new organization in Back Black. What have I been doing every single week? Talking to people. I'm talking to leaders all across the country, learning what's happening, what is going on, where do they need support. I have the same blueprint every single way I go. I'm the director of community now at Givebutter. Matter of fact, I created that title and that department. Thank you very much. Okay. But I realized the same thing applies no matter what context you're in. You need to listen to your people. And that is how we are now powering over $1 billion in donations every day. Thank you.
Amazing. And it's such a powerful lesson, something to live by in a world that looks for what's wrong. Look for what's great. Look
Come
for
on, somebody.
greatness.
Come on,
Yes.
somebody. Come on, don't be so consumed by the reports that keep coming out. We have reports every single day. Donations are down. Money is down. The economics is down. Everything is going down. Don't look at their reports. What does the report of your heart say? What does the
Yeah.
report of your people say? Let that dictate what you do.
Now you all see why I had to get Floyd on this podcast. All right. So your end-to-end fundraising solution predominantly helps smaller nonprofit organizations. What do you see are the unique challenges and unique greatness of small nonprofits?
One thing I will say, because I'm going to answer your question, is that Givebutter actually does work for all organizations. But the thing that I love is that when we were creating, we created it with intention that you don't have to have a large budget to have amazing technology. And that is why we are number one on G2. That is why we are number one on all these different platforms, because we said, hey, we are going to come with world-class design for everyone in the world. Not just the people who can afford it, not just the people who have access to the bigger donors, because guess what? Capitalism and being siloed is very real, right? I was talking to somebody and I just want to say, and we're going to talk about this later, I believe, but structural racism is a real thing. Philanthropy thrives on connection. Philanthropy is about who you know, right? And if you don't have access to people, if you don't know people who have other resources, it's going to be very hard for you to continue to scale what you're doing, right? So that's just one thing. But one thing I really love about technology and the approach that Givebutter is having is we're saying, hey, we're going beyond those lines. We're going beyond who you know, and we're going to give you an amazing product, an amazing tool that you can feel like your best so that you can do your best so that you can be your best for your people. That's one. Two, the other thing that I love about small grassroots nonprofits is it's a blessing and it's a hardship that we have to overcome, right? Because I've worked with small grassroots orgs my entire life. One is that we're always feeling kind of strapped for resources. We're always strapped for resources. We're always feeling like we have to do 1,000,003 things, right? But the beautiful thing that I have realized is that if you do it the right way, right, you can bring your people along with you in a way that a major organization can never do. Because a lot of times major organizations, they have the resources that can rely on staff members, which is great. We love having good staff. But at the end of the day, the thing that I have found to be great is being able to employ your volunteers or being able to grow and employ your board members, right? Or having your board members come alongside you where they can bring in new partners and new employees for you, right? But that only comes when you know your people. It's easy to hide behind the budget. It's easy to hide behind a budget, but if you're a small grassroots organization, you ain't got a big budget to hide behind, right? So what you got to do, you got to link arms to people side by side with you and do the work with them. That is why when we first got out the gate, what did we get known for at Givebutter? Our events platform, because we had to bring people together. Then we got known for our peer-to-peer software, because now you got to rely on your people to spread the word and share. Now we're a whole robust platform, right? Where we have CRM, we have messaging, we have text, the whole shebang. But again, it started with people because people are your power.
Yeah. Oh, love it. Love it. You talked about some of the advantages and the disadvantages. Powerful. But at the core of it
Mm-mm.
is, as your point, community is everything.
Mhm.
And you often talk about community as a catalyst for growth.
Mhm.
Tell us what that means to you and maybe share a favorite success story where community was the catalyst for growth.
Mm, yes. So I'll use Hannah Lowe as an example because I love my girl Hannah. She started the LCMD Research Foundation. So Hannah, and she's just so incredible. Her story is so powerful. Her son, Austin, was diagnosed with a very rare genetic disease called LCMD. And it was just hearing her story and hearing the fact that she went to so many doctors who told her, hey, there's something we can do. No one is doing research for this. There's something that we can do for your child. And I remember listening to a video where she said, so what am I supposed to do? Just go home and sit? You know what I mean? And just sit for an outcome. And she, so amazing because she wasn't a fundraiser, right? She didn't have access to all these different things. She didn't have a 10-point strategy and plan. She didn't have a grant writer on staff, but she had passion. If you go to their website, go on their homepage, it says, there is no cure for LCMD. We may not have a cure, but we have hope. What did she do? Hannah mobilized all of her community. She knocked on every single door. She knocked on businesses in her community. Now she's been featured in news. She's been featured on so many different press outlets. Corporations have gotten behind her story. Hannah just crossed and raised over $2 million for the
Wow.
LCMD Research Foundation. $2 million. A majority of nonprofits will never even cross $500,000 in their operating budget.
Mm.
What is the difference? What is the difference? And I'm not just saying, oh, it's hope, okay, yes, hope, but it's also about mobilizing your community. The thing that I love about what Hannah did was that, yes, she leveraged her network, but the thing that was so amazing is that she created a platform for people to leverage their networks and raise money on their behalf. I always say, when you create an organization, you now become a facilitator. And it is your job to create space for transformation to take place. You need to create space for transformation to take place. And that is exactly what Hannah did. She created space, and now people all around the country are creating their own transformation moment. And that is how they crossed the $2 million mark. And that's how they're going to continue to scale from this.
Amazing. So when passion meets community,
Come on.
transformation happens.
Come on. Passion plus people equals purpose. Come on now. Come
So,
on now.
so good. Speaking of community, you were recently recognized with the Anthem Award for
Yes.
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Talk about your award-winning campaign and what it really means to you to be a leader in the Black philanthropy space.
Thank you for saying that, Tammy. And the thing that I love the most is that we also won the Community Voice Award, and we were the smallest organization there, which is so wild. You know, Black Philanthropy Month is something that's near and dear to my heart because when I first started in fundraising and philanthropy, I didn't realize that I felt alone, essentially. Like I was like, I kind of am the only person doing this. I don't see anybody like me, but I'm fighting because the people who we were serving looked like me, right? The people that we were serving looked like me, but the people around me who had the positions, who had the power, didn't look like me. And I'm not gonna lie, Tammy, they still don't. They still don't, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that I realized is that when life opens up a door for you, it is your opportunity and it's your responsibility to keep that door open for somebody else. My parents always told me that. My grandma always told me that. And that's what I live by, right? And so a few years ago, I started an initiative at Givebutter for Black Philanthropy Month. I got to meet the founder of Black Philanthropy Month. And now Dr. Copeland and I, she's like a mentor to me. We talk all the time. I love her so much. But I said, what would happen if we created an intervention for Black-led nonprofits? Because we know Black-led nonprofits see only 1% to 2% of funding globally, right? And so I said, we have interventions like Giving Tuesday that are now raising billions of dollars for organizations. Why doesn't interventions like this exist for the Black community? And so we donated $10,000, but we also provided education, resources, and a lots of content for Black-led nonprofits. That first year, we ended up helping about 100 organizations raise over $330,000. we saw new organizations coming to Givebutter. We saw the traffic for our website increasing. We saw so much press hits for the organization. And so I said, okay, well, what would happen if we expanded this model? And so I was invited to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and I was able to bring on a few other partners like Global Giving, Network for Good. We also had Grapevine. They all kind of came on board. When we all mobilized together and created this moment, we were able to raise $1.3 million for 770 Black-led nonprofits in 4 weeks. And I said,
Amazing.
imagine, like, this is the power of community actualized, right? And I was like, this is what can happen if we can all come together. And so we submitted that effort to the Anthem Awards, and it was so incredible, so amazing. And now we're continuing to expand it. And I feel amazed. I can't even believe it.
Well, it's extraordinary. And I can't let you not acknowledge, because I know that in so many ways you're modest, but those results, over $330,000 for
Mm-hmm.
156 Black-led nonprofits, like the revenue was 3 times your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is incredible. But bringing those partners together, finding those
Yes.
opportunities, walking through that door, even though
Mhm.
there was no clear path.
Say that again. Say that again. There was no clear path. Half of the time I was like, where am I? Some days I still ask myself, where am I? But I also realized, Tammy, that anything, I say this all the time, and it's kind of become my mantra, that nothing courageous happens in comfort zones. It's so funny because I was talking to somebody and they were like, yes, we call it the comfort zone, but maybe we should be calling it the discomfort zone, because I was like, yes, I'm okay. Like, yes, this is the status quo, but do I believe that this is the fullness of what life could look like? I kept seeing an issue and I'm like, this is a problem. Why are we not coming together? Why are we not mobilized? Why are we not standing together? We can do more when we come together. And that's exactly what I tell organizations all the time. Don't be so precious with your funding. Don't be so precious with your partners. Why don't we come together and make an even bigger impact? Right. And that is what we're seeing actualized right now. And child, you fired me up all over again. I'm ready to go ahead and let me go ahead and get started now. But that's what it's about. When I'm 80 years old, sitting in my rocking chair, I want to look back and say, who are the lives that I was able to touch? What was I able to do beyond myself? I want to look back and say, well done, Floyd. You served somebody. And that's it. That's all I ask for.
I don't know what anyone could ask for more powerful than that.
Mm,
Let's get you even further fired up, okay?
I love it.
We just celebrated Black History Month here in the US,
Mhm.
and I'm a believer. I know you're a believer. So many of us in this community are believers that Black history is history and should be discussed and celebrated and understood year round. And so I just wanted to ask you, who are some of your Black heroes, past and present, and why?
Ooh, God, that's a great question. I have so many heroes. One, I would say Dr. Jacqueline Copeland that we just talked about, who founded Black Philanthropy Month and who really started this 20 years ago. I still look to her as such an inspiration because she is. She's still blazing trails, still doing things, laying the groundwork for the next generation and the next iteration of trailblazers. So definitely Dr. Copeland. Who else? I got so many people. I would say, can I say Barack Obama? Like, is that a cop out? Because everybody says that. Like, I
No,
mean,
you
I
could
got
totally say that. I still have my Barack Obama poster on top of my fridge.
exactly.
I can't bear to throw it away.
Oh my God, no. I mean, him, Donald Glover, like people who are allowing themselves to be their fullness. Quinta Brunson. Like, I just keep thinking about so many different people across. And also, I think that speaks to me, like my background in music and the arts and whatnot. Like, I love people who use all of themselves to serve all of the people around them. And I think that those are the people who lift me up. Those are the people who I'm trying to walk in their footsteps of. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. So I want to throw a couple of my
Please.
heroes in and see if it resonates with you. Kind of in the cop out category, of course, Dr.
Mhm.
Martin Luther King Jr. Like,
100%. I'll be.
hello. I also think about Congressman John Lewis.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, and in the spirit of like philanthropy and trailblazers and courage and discomfort, Madam C.J. Walker.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
and by association. So I've come to know Dr. Tyrone McKinley Freeman from the Indiana
Mm,
University School of
mm.
Philanthropy, who wrote the book about Madam C.J. Walker and women's Black
Wow.
philanthropy in the time of Jim Crow. And so
Oh
he's
my
been
God.
on the podcast.
I would love to meet him. If you could facilitate that, child, let's make that happen. What?
Uh, he is incredible. Of course, Robert Smith, who
Mm,
famously paid off the student loans for
yep.
Morehouse students.
Yep.
Darren Walker, mm,
Mm,
head of the Ford Foundation. His
mm.
life story is
Yes.
extraordinary. His book, Generosity to Justice, The New Gospel of Wealth, is a must read. We
He's
really could
amazing.
talk all day long.
And Ford Foundation just funded the movie Origin by Ava DuVernay. And she's another person that I love. But I love that they are going beyond traditional philanthropy. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the people who are pushing our world forward. And I love it. Love it.
Love it, love it. Well, maybe we should have a book club
A
just
hundred.
by, yeah, it sounds fun.
I love that. I love that.
Oh, yeah. And so it is good. It's really good. And I think that as leaders of people who are committed to community and leveraging and empowering and mobilizing community as a catalyst for change, for
Mm-hmm.
inclusiveness, for
Hmm.
goodness,
Hmm.
we have to continue to amplify not only our voices and the voices of our community, but the voices of leaders
Yes.
throughout our sector. And some of the
Yes.
leaders who maybe don't come to mind firsthand, whether they're leaders of color or leaders of the past versus the current, and looking for those young leaders
Mm-hmm.
and those fresh perspectives.
Mhm, mhm. 100%,
Yeah,
100%. That's what it's about, and I think that that's the work, right? Like, that's the work that we're doing. It's about at least what I think about with Back Black, I'm like, I wanna create a space where everyone has a voice because that's how we're gonna create the future. You know what I mean? Like, we have to do that. We have to bring all the worlds together, and that's what fuels me every day.
it's so good. So good. Now, you touched on Black Philanthropy Month coming up
Mhm.
in August. For our listeners who perhaps have not heard about Black Philanthropy Month, talk to
Yes.
us a little bit about that.
Yes, Black Philanthropy Month is a global celebration of Black giving. And it's so amazing because I keep looking back at what Dr. Copeland has done. And she really has been a part of sparking these Black giving movements in countries all around the world. And now Black Philanthropy Month is taking on an identity of its own, which has been so exciting to witness. August, by the way, is Black Philanthropy Month and Black Business Month. And a lot of people don't know that. And so my intention and my hope, as well as the people who have been spurring this movement across the country and the world, is really how do we center and highlight Black organization, but then also how do we really focus on generating new income, generating new awareness for organizations who are traditionally and historically left behind, right?
Mm,
We see, and as I mentioned before, but Black-led nonprofits historically have received 1 to 2% of funding globally, right? Their net assets for their organizations are 73 to 75% less than their white-led counterparts. And this is something that we are seeing across the board. And it's even exacerbated overseas, right? If impact happens when you're in your actual community, why do we think and why do we see that certain communities are left behind? Right? We need to do more work. And I use the word empower sparingly because I don't believe empowering is about providing something to someone who they don't have that, right? Everybody has power, right? But in my opinion, it's about how do you wield your power so that someone can fully stand into their power,
mm,
right? How do we create space for them to actually be the fullest version of themselves? And that is what my hope is for Back Black, but in general with the future of Black philanthropy, right? How are we creating space where everyone can be free? Like Dr. King used to always say, right? How do we create space for everyone to be free?
mm. Goosebumps. So powerful, Floyd Jones. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's hard to top. I
Yeah.
mean, I typically ask like any parting wisdom or encouragement that you
Mm.
want to give our listeners.
The thing that comes to me right now is I want you to take a moment to take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is my best? Because you can sit here, you can listen to my story, you can listen to the stories of anybody who we've listened to and mentioned. You can look on TV, and I know I get caught in this, right? Like I can easily get myself into comparison trap. I start spiraling and doing the whole shebang. But then I take a step back and I say, what has God given me? What is my best? Who am I meant to be? Who am I called to be? Because I believe with every part of myself is that if you do your best, if I do my best, if the person on the street does their best, that is how we change the world. That is how we change the world. So just do your best and take the next step. Just take the
Mm,
next step. We don't need you to climb the mountain tomorrow. Take the next step because that is how we are going to see the arc of justice come to pass.
yes. Beautiful. Thank you, Floyd.
Thank you.
At the end of each episode, I like to ask a few rapid fire, insightful questions to provide even more value for our listeners. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's the best fundraising advice you've ever received?
Ooh, I think it's the advice I gave myself, but it's probably been a culmination of things I've heard from everybody else. But people are your partners, not your piggy banks. I say that all the time, but people are your partners, not your piggy banks. That will transform your fundraising. I promise you.
I believe you. What are the three most important traits a successful fundraiser must possess?
Ooh, endurance. It's a long haul. So you need to be focused on just taking it as a long haul. I would say innovation. Don't keep doing the same old thing the same old way. That is going to get you stuck. Okay. Continue innovating and don't be afraid to do the things that don't necessarily scale. Having conversations with people doesn't scale easily, right? Like it's kind of hard to continue doing that, but that is the best way to stay connected to your people, right? Like that is the best way. And it doesn't always have to be just you. I created boards I said, you have the paperclip board, child. Everybody had a board. Okay. But why? Because I mobilized people to do what I couldn't do. And then I had them come and bring me the results. Oh, you heard it from this person. You heard from this. Okay, great. You know what I'm saying? People need to be connected to other people though. So create a framework that the things that don't scale, you could scale the things that don't necessarily scale. If that makes sense. So,
It does make sense. Floyd, what's your favorite fundraising application or tool?
I mean, besides Givebutter, love Givebutter. But I would just say, I mean, things that make your fundraising easy. Like we don't think necessarily that like Canva being a tool, but I love Canva. I love ChatGPT. I know people think, oh, get worried about AI, but child, me and me and ChatGPT, we be together. I love the things that make your life easier so that you can do the work. You can type the email faster. We have Grammarly that you can embed into your emails that corrects your spelling, right? Like, and makes things sound better. Like little things that really make your life easier go a long way.
Agreed. What's your favorite conference and why?
Ooh, I mean, I am partial to this, but I love Fundraising Transform. Come on, Transform 24, 25, 26,
Woo, woo.
27, 28. Hallelujah. Okay. Besides
Thank
that,
you.
I love the Nonprofit Marketing Summit. I think that what Community Boost is doing is very innovative, and I love being a part of that. I love the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference. I love Josh. Josh is my homeboy. So if you haven't heard of that conference, definitely check them out. What else? I have never been, so I feel like I can't even say, but I love what Classy is doing at the collaborative. Like, I think that that's really innovative and exciting. So I love things that are pushing the needle and just creating a new approach to something that really needs new life.
Good, good. Knowing what you know now
Mhm.
about fundraising, what advice would you give your younger self just getting started out in the profession, Floyd?
Oh, give yourself time. Like, it's okay. Like, just breathe. It's going to be fine. Also, I know that a lot of organizations have like fundraising quotas and all these different things, and people feel like they're spinning their wheels and getting burnt out. And I'm like, that is not how you fundraise for the long term. That's not how you fundraise with longevity in mind. And so you have to build with longevity in mind. That's what I would say. Build knowing that there's going to be someone who's going to carry the torch when you are gone. That's what I would say. When I approach things from that approach, it makes me build with intention as well.
Just beautiful. Thank you, Floyd Jones.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yes, yes. For those of you who are listening to this podcast, here is my recommendation.
Mm.
This is one I definitely want you to download to your phone. And I want you to play back the encouragement, the energy, and the wisdom of Floyd Jones on those days when you're feeling like you're pushing jello uphill, on the days when you don't want to get out of bed, on the days when you feel like you don't have another ounce of energy to give, push play on Floyd Jones. If you want to learn more about Floyd, Givebutter, or any of the other resources that we've discussed today, check out the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Intentional Fundraiser podcast. And keep on transforming your fundraising so you can transform the world. We did it, Floyd. We did it.
That was good. That felt good. I love that.
The Intentional Fundraiser podcast is a Fundraising Transformed original. It's hosted by me, Tammy Zonker, founder and president of Fundraising Transformed, where we help equip and empower fundraisers, nonprofit leaders, and board members to transform their fundraising so they can transform the world. Visit fundraisingtransform.com/podcast to subscribe to this podcast and subscribe to my newsletter to get fundraising lessons, tools, and helpful resources delivered straight to your inbox each month. If you want my help with taking your fundraising to the next level, become a member of my Fundraising Transformers community as a growth member and join me live each month where I'll teach you the same strategies I use to lead, train, and coach thousands of nonprofits, social service organizations, healthcare foundations, private schools, colleges, and universities to collectively raise more than $500 million. Including a single gift of $27.1 million. As a member, you can participate in my Ask Me Anything sessions every month and get answers to your burning questions. Chat with other growth members inside our private and safe online community about what you're working on, struggling with, and share lessons learned. And get instant access to my growing library of on-demand self-paced training classes. New content is added every single month. Learn more about becoming a member at fundraisingtransform.com/growth. Talk soon.